Alright everybody, this is Minecraft Bob Ross, but for today I'm going to be Fallout 4 Bob Ross, because I want to show you a build that I've done in Fallout 4. I mentioned Fallout 4 because I actually think it has a pretty decent sandbox feature for building what's called settlements. You can do a lot more than that, especially with mods. And I use some mods to essentially build Prewar Sanctuary. Sanctuary is the town that our main character, called the Sole Survivor generically, lives in. And before the game it looks all nice and pristine. Before the very beginning of the game, before the war, before the nuclear holocaust begins. And then you return to Sanctuary later and it's just destroyed, it's in ruin. And one of the things in the game that you get to do is sort of rebuild it and make a settlement out of it. But normally, most people don't go all the way and build it back to its pre-war glory, which is what I set about doing sort of after I played through the game and essentially beat the game and ran through the Institute quest and all of that. I've been working on this build for some time. I used a combination of the core game, console commands, and mods to get this done. So, and a number of mods I could mention. I've probably used about 20 mods, all of which I won't list here to do this. But probably the most important mod that I used is called Homemaker, all as one word, Homemaker, H-O-M-E-M-A-K-E-R, which has a lot of good stuff like Institute building materials, Institute style, kind of like this. Another really important mod, oh gosh, I want to say it's just called Prewar Sanctuary, and it is a building set that's in the style of Prewar Sanctuary, which is how I was able to build these structures. The final mod is a mod called Hotkey. There might be more to it than that, but if memory serves, the main word in it is Hotkey, and it lets you sort of do a lot of console commands without having to hit the tilde key and type in the console commands. You can actually just use keys on your keyboard to very quickly carry out console commands. For example, I could select this lamppost and I could move it and move it all around and do different things with it, manipulate it in real time instead of having to go to the console command screen and do that. So it's useful. Anyway, I was just going to show you around a bit. I didn't want to get too much into the nuts and bolts of how I did it. Here's my guns and ammo shop, War Maidens. If you've played Skyrim, another great Bethesda game, then you get the reference, I'm sure. Yeah, so I haven't actually set this up as an actual shop. I haven't moved my gun shop here yet, but I'm thinking about doing that. I just wanted it to look good. So there's a mod that lets you put in really nice gun racks. These aren't real gun racks. These aren't actual guns. It's just graphics, but I like it. Here's my med bay, my hospital, essentially, doctor's office. Gotta have one of those in the post-war Commonwealth for sure. This is my Sanctuary Thread store, as the name implies. This is my clothing store, clothing and armor. And I do have an actual vendor who gets stationed here, but apparently her work hours are over and she's probably chilling out at the bar. We'll get to that in a moment. Really good mod for clothing shelves that I found as well, and obviously use mannequins from there to display the different collectible armors and clothing sets that I found in the game. Make it look like a clothing store. Figured it was fitting. Gotta have a local newspaper. And here's my arcade / comic book store. I grew up in Columbia, South Carolina, and there I grew up with a comic book store called Silver City. So I named this after that. A little personal reference. But yeah, I've got some stuff from the Nuke-cade here. I wish there was a reskinned version of this that looked nice and new and not rusty, but whatever. I also found a really good mod with classic 80s style arcade games. So I set up a little arcade. I thought that was fun. You see a little graphics glitch occurring here. That probably has more to do with my graphics card getting overloaded than anything. It happens sometimes, especially if you start loading an area down with too much material. I have gone over the building budget here about five times over. Not all of the houses are. I'll go ahead and show you. I haven't furnished fully all of the houses that I've built. They're all built. I haven't gone in and furnished them all. I prioritize doing the outside first. However, some of the houses are fully furnished. I can show you what some of those look like. This is my bar. I'm pretty proud of it. Let's see, the watering hole restaurant and bar. I made it all Minuteman themed, so that my settlers can not only have their drinks and hang out, but also gain a little bit of morale. And there's a cool mod that let me make a flat screen TV with the Nuka World park safety rules on it, which is actually quite fun and quite funny to watch. Let's watch it for a second. Here, in fact, it kind of reminds me in a weird kind of way of Itchy and Scratchy from The Simpsons. Because it's very violent, yet for kids. It's like a messed up version of Disney World, right? Based on the whole Nuka-Cola thing. Nuka World is actually an add-on to the game, right? It's downloadable content. And it's really, or DLC as it gets called, it's really good. I really enjoyed the whole Nuka World run. It was great. Far Harbor's also pretty cool, and you might see a few things that I've added from that. This is part. I got this one not from the this house, not from the how shall I put it, homemaker mod. Excuse me, I lied. I didn't get this from the Sanctuary mod, the pre-war Sanctuary build mod. I got this as one singular piece from the homemaker mod. And this pre-war Sanctuary house is the Soul Survivors house. Now, as far as the furnishings go, I had to provide all of those separately. And I used Homemaker for a lot of that as well, but not all of it. I had to find a good art mod to find pre-war versions of the different works of art in the game, to try to make this look as close to the Soul Survivors original house as possible, with a few small additions of my own, because times change and things change. For example, here, the real Sean is no longer around. Spoiler. Here's a tribute to him, and I thought that was more fitting to put in here instead of his crib, since that's obviously not needed anymore by the time we get to the current timeline. This is the Soul Survivor's bedroom. I should probably put some kind of memorial to his wife, Nora. Yeah, this is the house, as you can see. I really like the fact that they have a lot of classical music in the game. I think that's classy. I think it's cool. Although I wish they had an even wider selection. And yeah, here's the guy who started it all, the Vault Tech rep. Now a ghoul, but still a salesman. And still drinking the Vault Tech Kool-Aid, as you can see. This is the another house for my settlers. I gave them only top of the line. Here I made a little community center. My settlers can work out. They can make art.
Like someone wants to do some trade.
There's Smiling Larry doing some art, apparently wanting to trade guns with me. I'm cool with that for later. Got a little billiard set up. Got some chess for the more intellectual settlers. Got a little Nuka-Cola set up. Got some food and kitchen area here. Maybe a dining table would be good to have in here too. That might be a good addition. I'm thinking of a few small things I might add. The little community center is connected with the greenhouse. This is our actual source of food or mute fruit for the settlement, but it also looks pretty good. Homemaker, if memory serves, had some really good planters for these. They're a lot better than the planters in the vanilla game. I would say last but not least, but there's actually one more thing after this I want to share with you. Just so you can see, I like doing sort of a central nuclear power setup where it's all in one good protected place. I could have made this look spiffy and pre-world, but I wanted this to look a little bit gritty and industrial. Last thing I'll show you for what it's worth isn't anything specific to a pre-war world, but you can see I have a ton of laser turrets set up. And I used the Hotkeys mod to basically sink these down into the floor so that they look more permanent rather than mobile. Now you might be wondering why I actually have so many laser turrets here. The reason is because in Fallout 4, I'll show you if you hold down for me it's the V button, go to the workshop, you'll see a green sort of banner across the top of the screen. People, food, water, see those items? Your water production, which is really the major source of money in the game. If you have a lot of resources, water and food, that attracts bandits, that causes bandits or gangs to attack your settlement. Now, what you got to do is take that water, it's way above 999, but you got to take that number, it's probably about 1400. You have to add that to food, which is only 24 because I have no need for producing any more food than my people need. 19 people, 24 food, no problem. But you add those. So let's say we had 1200 water. So we would have 1224. And if you look at that defense number there, which only goes up to 999, that number would need to be equal to or ideally greater than your water plus your food. And if you have that set up, the attacks, the raids on your settlement will be minimal. They'll still happen sometimes, but they will be minimal. And that's why you actually see so many laser turrets. It's not because I'm worried about it actually repelling an attack, although I will tell you, anything that attacks, even an epic Deathclaw, does not stand a chance. They will get vaporized in seconds. The reason that I put so many of them here is because in Sanctuary, like in any settlement, there are certain places where the attacks tend to spawn from, and this is the big one in Sanctuary right here. Most of the attacks I've seen come from that direction. However, if we follow along the border, you'll see that I have these set up all along. These I haven't sunk down. I can show you how it works though. It's a good example of that hotkey mod at work. So for example, we'll select it, and I have a hotkey set up that lets me drop it down quickly. Then I can I like to move it back a little bit, just behind my border wall here. There we go. Now the build border is somewhere out around here, so there's only so far that you can actually build. Although, if you have a keen eye, you might notice that on that island, for example, there's a nice green pre-war quality tree. That's because I can use the hotkeys and I can use the console commands to move trees to custom locations that are actually outside of the build zone. One of my long-term plans is to populate at least up to the coast, just to make an occluding layer. I'm going to have a bunch of trees there, nice pretty green trees, so as to create a border so when you look out you don't see as much of the post-war sort of gray dead world. But that'll take a lot of time and a lot of effort, and I just haven't gotten there yet. Anyway, this is it. Oh, one more thing, I guess, actually, is I found a nice mod with I think it's Homemaker actually has a nice pre-war sanctuary quality bridge too. So that's really nice. Anyway, that's that. That's my pre-war sanctuary right there in a nutshell. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope that you're impressed. If you want, if you're interested in it, I know most of you watch me and subscribe to me because you're interested in my Minecraft builds. But if you're interested in knowing some of my techniques and how I did this in Fallout 4, feel free to let me know, and I'll be glad to make some videos, some how-to videos and some mod videos on how to build sort of at a more expert level in Fallout 4. So if you're interested in that, feel free to let me know. In the meantime, this is Minecraft Bob Ross, or I guess for today, you might call me Fallout Bob Ross. Seems a bit of a contradiction in terms. There's a happy little super mutant. Anyway, this has been Minecraft / Fallout Bob Ross, and until next time, I wish you happy Minecrafting, and I guess I'll say I also wish you happy Fallouting. Take care.